There were so many game-changing moments from Cal's story that told me so much about the story that was unfolding within my own life. These modern mythologies, just like the tales of old, are a lens to look through the life of others to find connections within ourselves. The stories themselves may be mythical, but the emotions, ideas, and reflections within them are more real and true than anything I know. If we really want to understand the development of Cal Kestis, who may be one of the most deep characters I've ever seen in the Star Wars universe, we're really going to have to discover and understand his path. Welcome to the first episode of this 5-part miniseries in this epic modern mythology, Jedi Fallen Order. This series is broken into 5 parts for each stage of Cal's journey in finding balance and peace from his trauma. To analyze this modern myth and discover its real-world implications and relations, we'll go through a Force reflection of Cal's journey, starting at the end and then diving deep into the beginning of his quest where we start this first episode. At the end of Cal's quest of saving the fates of Force-sensitive children around the galaxy, he emerges empowered from his journey of self-reflection and healing. This doesn't mean that he has forgotten his trauma and survivor guilt, only that he has the tools to better deal with those burdens as he has accepted that they have become a part of him. He seeks to bring the best out of those around him regardless of their circumstances. This is evident in his forgiveness of Trilla after his duel with her, even though she was responsible for his substitute father figure Prath's death. After reflecting on both sides of the coin, hearing, seeing, and feeling Trilla's adversities through the Force that have led to her state now, from his own empowerment, Cal finds empathy for her and gives Seer the opportunity for the two to reconcile their relationship. We will find from here that true empowerment comes from the ability to allow that for others. This myth aligns with a dark time in our history. A survivor of the Holocaust, a beautiful soul named EDITH EGER, who survived her ideal not with an iron will of determination, but with a newfound empathy for the soldiers in charge of her detainment. Her empathy to understand was, in her words,
that these are beautiful children, born with love, and somebody brainwashed them. We're not born with hate, we learn it.
The level of extremity within these individual tales are completely different given one is mythology and one is dark history. But the principles guiding the choices of our courageous heroes remain aligned to teach us the same lesson. In order to get to this point, Cal knew there was a lot of work to do, not only to save the Force-sensitive children, but what he didn't know was that first he had to save the child within himself that he had been neglecting for so long. After reconnecting with his inner child, Cal was able to see the traumas of others and tried his best to help them on their journey, as understanding their afflictions were a way for him to process his own. This allowed him to trust and befriend Merrin. Even though he could have tried to defeat her, she ended up being key in helping them with their mission. This psychological principle has been told countless times. Only hurt people, but on the other side of the spectrum, healed people heal other people. Cal found empathy and understanding using his Force Echo ability with both Seer and Trilla, knowing their circumstances and truly understanding that they were just products of their individual environments without attributing a classification of evil to either of them. Cal offered them the power and the opportunity to change after realizing it within himself. He only discovered this power at his deepest and darkest moment, when he gave up all hope. Cal's greatest moment came as a result of the opposite axis of his darkest hour. His ability to accept the trauma carried by his neglected inner child became the key to unlocking the vault of Dathomir instead of the powerful Force abilities he had accumulated. His journey taught us that being vulnerable and accepting our flaws carries a greater power to unlock opportunities than does the forceful use of our competencies. From myth to modern world, this chapter reminds me of one of my favorite podcasters and authors, GAWDAT, ex-CEO of Google X and author of the remarkable book Solve for Happy. He became the happiness expert to the world only from the opposite axis of the pure grief from losing his son to an unforeseen medical complication. Lying within your deepest insecurity or darkest moment is your greatest strength, but this power is only granted to those that accept that fact. This is a hard pill to swallow for many, as they would scream to refute my point. Cal's courage to come out of hiding only got him so far in this journey. His suppression of his past self caused his disconnection to his Force abilities and a hindrance in his progress. The courage to fight came naturally to him, but the courage to connect with himself provided a greater challenge but was the key to following Eno Cordova's path. Every time he relived those memories of his old master in small doses, he became more powerful as a result. Our brain has a similar mechanism to help us with this process. Covered by sleep scientist Dr. Matthew Walker, he explains that when we recount dreams with strong emotional traumas, the brain is able to remove the bitter rind of the emotion and retain the sweet information within the proverbial orange of a traumatic experience. Our ability to relive strong emotional events tied to our past brings us wisdom, as the shadows of our adversities in life become our greatest teachers. These powers came to Cal, but only after he came out of hiding. It's time to dive deep into this first episode. Life has an interesting way of impartially pushing you towards a purpose, even when you try and hide from it. In the words of Dan Coe, if you don't assign yourself a purpose, one will be assigned to you. Since surviving Order 66 due to his master's sacrifice, Cal has been hiding away on Bracca as a scrapworker for 5 years, serving the purpose of the Empire, as he did not have the courage to choose his own. His gift to use the Force was stifled, as was his potential to protect others as a Jedi. Adjacent to this myth lies a truth in our own lives. If we do not actively seek out to tackle a challenge, we find ourselves following others who have brought it upon themselves to do so. Life is impartial to our feelings, and it is up to us to add the color of meaning to it. The symptoms of a lack of purpose manifest in the sharp pain in your heart that comes with spending your time on a cause that you do not truly believe in. As a result of his choices, Cal is shocked with the pain of mediocrity and reality as adversity strikes.
Turn yourself in, or everyone present shall face summary execution.
We all know the truth. We're all just expendable.
Yes, you are.
No!
Look at this, a lightsaber.
A lack of purpose breeds a lack of power and growth. In a torture chamber of fate, Cal found himself helpless to protect those he loves yet again. As the world around him continued to move, unbeknown to Cal, he was being assigned a higher purpose by those who wished to serve. This first encounter with the second sister brought to light everything Cal was lacking, and as the player, we felt how weak we were in the face of organized chaos. Insult and injury were the reality checks and bruises Cal received.
Who's your master, Padawan? Someone I killed, perhaps? What Jedi gave their life so that you might live?
Cal's trauma from Order 66 infected him with the inability of trusting others. As we see ahead in this story, he was met with betrayal after forming strong social connections to who he thought were allies. Understandably, Cal reacts with a feverish level of caution to his saviors who propose for him a purpose.
Thanks for the help. But who are you people?
My name is Seer Junda, and this is my captain, Grease Dritus.
Who was that back there?
She's a Force user hunting Jedi survivors.
How do you know so much? And why'd you help me?
We heard the Inquisitors were heading to Bracca.
And what's the bounty on Jedi these days anyway?
That's gratitude for you.
You've been surviving on your own for so long that it's impossible to trust anyone. And it's what's kept you alive. But this is about something bigger than just surviving.
Like what?
Like rebuilding the Jedi Order.
Although Cal's mistrust is a large issue he faces, it is trumped by the massive task given to him to save the Force-sensitive children hunted by the Empire. His previous meekness towards the notion of proactively standing up to the Empire is completely overshadowed when his duty to others shines as a guiding star. Cal inherently knows that his gift and power to use the Force comes with the responsibility and duty to protect others. SINEK, the author of Start With Why, recounts the remarkable purpose found in the story of a surgeon who treated soldiers in the Middle East.
I asked him, "Hey doc, you're a good guy, you work in an ER, you save lives for a living, that's your job. Do you have a different kind of feeling on these missions than you do back home?" And he looked at me and he said, 90 to 95% of the people who come through an ER are either drunks or idiots. He says there's not a single drunk or idiot on this aircraft. He said the feeling that I get when I get to work these missions during my reserve hours is more powerful than any feeling I ever get when I'm working back home. Again, the greatest sense of purpose and meaning we can have in our lives is to serve those who serve others.
Even though he is unable to articulate himself, Cal realizes his broken state, but retrospectively, we realize that he needed to go through this ordeal to break through the wall of mediocrity. If none of this were to happen, he would have stayed on Braca indefinitely and never realized his full potential. Pain like this is the only indicator that will tell you that what you're doing just isn't enough. Bringing us back to modernity, Chris Williamson from Modern Wisdom references the region beta paradox, beautifully describing this scenario. The region beta paradox is the phenomenon that people can sometimes recover more quickly from more distressing experiences than from less distressing ones. Locked deep within an ancient vault lies the darkness that would lead to Cal's greatest abilities, but only with an equivalent helping of adversity. But through this tale, we learn that just because a purpose is given to you does not mean you will simultaneously have the tools to work on it. Our first layer of purpose is usually developing the tools to be able to further something bigger than ourselves. In the next episode, we will review how Cal pushes along with his purpose by overcoming adversity, along with my own reflection of how I overcame my procrastination, fusing the lessons needed to thrive in modern society from a modern mythology. Feel free to jump into the next video.